Hi, welcome to my book corner. I'm Ven, and today this is a first for me personally. I have never read manga before. So, if any year is going to be the year to change that, it's this year. I've always loved anime art style, I love anime presentation as a whole. I don't really watch that much of it, unfortunately, I just don't have time. But I've never got around to reading a manga. So, we're breaking that duck today. And we're starting with a Yaoi manga called The Dragon's Betrothed. This came out in 2019. There is a second book in the series, which, at least the English version specifically, is being released next month, which we will look at when we get to it, and it has a little bit more spice in than this one. But as always, we'll talk about the story, we'll touch briefly on the characters and the world building, and then we'll talk a little bit about the art style before giving you my final thoughts at the end. So let's jump straight in. So this follows Chiharu Izunome and his return to the small town that he grew up in. He is a writer who is suffering severe writer's block and anxiety in the big city and has just come back home to sort of get away from everything and come back to the slower life, hoping to get his creative juices flowing again. Little does he know that at some point in his past he was promised to a water dragon god to be his wife. Now, unknown to the dragon god, who is called Rin, he didn't expect his wife to be a man. So when they first meet at the train station as Chiharu returns to town, they don't realise who each other are until Chiharu mentions his name and Rin goes, "Aha, wife." And what happens then is the attempts of Rin to gain the affection of Chiharu. And there's a lot of absolute insanity that goes on here. Obviously, as a spirit, dragon, water god thing, Rin isn't used to living around people, so he's loud and he's brash, mildly destructive because he's used to being out sort of in nature, and there's lots of sort of minor disasters and hijinks that go on throughout this. There's also the appearance of another sort of demon that appears quite late on to sort of pull Rin back into his responsibilities as a water dragon, but he is so determined to make Chiharu his wife. And it's a pretty solid sort of setup, to be fair. Well, I want nothing to do with you, stay away from me, whereas the other person's going, I want you and you will fall for me eventually, is not an unusual trope to see. And neither is the fish out of water idea of someone so far out of the comfort zone, which in this case is the water dragon Rin, who doesn't know how shopping works, or that people cook their food, or how to gain a human's affection. And that can all lead to some pretty amusing sort of scenarios throughout the course of the manga. So, solid stuff. On to characters, and there's more here than I actually expected them to be honest, because I did pick this up on the assumption that this was going to have some explicit content in there. There isn't really, to be completely honest. So the two main characters, as mentioned, are Chiharu and Rin. We're going to start with Chiharu, as he's sort of the object of affection here. And he is a young man who sort of moved away to the big city, wrote a book, became a bestseller, but has now got all the pressure of celebrity on him. And he's a celebrity in his own local town as well. And he's just being stifled by everything to the point where he can't write anymore. He comes back home, quite grumpy, he's quite surly, he just wants to be left alone to just do his thing. Rin, on the other hand, is very open, very sweet, very naive in many regards, and just wants to see the best in everybody. He thinks everyone is a good person. And what you see is an interesting dynamic between the two, as the cynicism of Chiharu is slowly but surely melted away by the incessant onslaught of just sweet, innocent kindness, and also the non-stop, you will be my wife, you will be my wife, you will be my wife, come wash me, you will be my wife, that goes on throughout the entire manga. And it does feel like a gradual just demolition of the walls, so to speak. More than I expected there to be here in terms of characterization. There are a few other characters in here as well that sort of flit in and out. They all get a little bit of characterization, but they're not really in the manga long enough to really sort of hold any attention. But it's solid stuff. World building. There's a couple of bits in here. Again, not a huge amount because the art does a lot of the world building work for you in books like this. But you get some information around local legends and the importance of the gods, where the gods come from. The idea that the gods are created by stories is actually quite an interesting one. It's very much a case of belief comes before the actual object of belief, which I quite like as well. It's something you see in some other fiction as well. I think Pratchett does that quite a bit, if I remember correctly. And just some general sort of stuff around the importance of food and family and legacy as well, to a lesser extent, is also all included here. And on top of that, you do have the various kind of supernatural superstitions that you sometimes get as well. And it all helps to inform the story of this basically dragon water spirit who probably shouldn't be there. And there's actually a comment where people think they see the dragon and everyone's there going, well, it can't be a dragon. I mean, imagine if it was. Japan would have a load of problems if it was actually a dragon. And that sort of dichotomy between reverence and fear is there as well. So again, all in service of the story and does a good job. I am not an artistic person, but I do know what I like. I have no skill beyond that. And I like this. I like it a lot. There's a few different aspects to this that I really enjoy. First of all, I think the art style is actually really cutesy. And I love the level of detail and shading that goes into this. I just think it's absolutely phenomenal. But the detail in particular is noticeable in the backgrounds, which surprised me a little bit because I'm not sure why. I always assumed that the backgrounds would be the less detailed versus the characters, and that's not the case here. They get plenty of love and plenty of attention, and it really helps make the world feel slightly more alive and in often cases lived in, and highlights like the accidental destructiveness of Rin when he like shape changes in a house. Also, what comes across very clearly throughout the whole title is the emotions of the characters, and this is done in various different subtle ways. For example, the downcast head and the way the eyes are looking, to the more obvious, which is like the symbology for mood. So for example, the big eyes, big mouth and lightning bolts over the head to denote the sense of irritation or anger, or the sort of the little blush under or the cheeks and the hand behind the ear, just to show that something has flustered someone a little bit. And it's very, very clear what mood people are going through. Obviously, this is black and white with it being a manga, but it's really well drawn. There is a beautiful piece of art, which I will try and put up if I can get it up, of the two main characters, Rin and Chiharu, which I just think is adorable as well. I just really love the way this one looks, and it's the main reason I picked it up, to be honest. Positives. So this, first of all, is actually really wholesome in terms of the way the romance plays out, first of all. I really, really like how Rin is so unflinchingly nice and is genuinely trying to win affection rather than physicality, for want of a better term. I also adore the art style, and it's the main reason I purchased this. I think it's really well drawn, it's really emotive, it really helps tell the story. And the thing I really didn't expect is there's a lot of humour in here. I don't know why I didn't expect things to go horribly wrong when a dragon tries to live amongst humans for the first time. But there's lots of little scenarios in here. For example, him trying to learn to cook, or trying to go shopping for the first time and learning to clean, and how wonderfully terribly that sometimes goes, is actually really, really good, and I really liked it. There are not really any major negatives for me on this one. The only one I would give is the fact that this does come with an explicit content warning. Now, I didn't notice any explicit content in this one, personally. However, I do know there is explicit content in the follow-up. So that is something to bear in mind, because obviously this does end on a... I'm not sure cliffhanger's the right word, but it's clear that things have got further to go. So if you're getting this for someone, just bear in mind that the next issue is going to be a little bit spicy. So that puts me on final thoughts. What do I think of this one? I love it. I wish I'd read manga sooner. I think this is wholesome, sweet, funny, and well drawn. It goes in an easy A tier for me, personally. The only reason it doesn't go right at the top is because this is the first manga I've read, and I have no doubt there's better out there. Or I'd assume there is anyway. I could be wrong. Are there any that you recommend me to read and that you'd like me to review? Let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you all next time.